Hey guys, this is Shamini from the Happy Film Company. These are the 4 lenses that I currently shoot with, and over the past decade of being a portrait photographer, I've shot with a huge selection of lenses, and this is kind of what I've narrowed it down to. And I don't really have a desire to change it up. So this video, I'm going to talk about these lenses and how they serve me as a portrait photographer. This is not a video for the nitty-gritty details of each lens. This is a video more to help you understand how to develop a set of lenses for the purpose that you want as a photographer. When you're first starting out as a photographer, you just look at, like, there's hundreds of lenses to choose from and you don't know where to start. And so my suggestion there is to follow the lead of a photographer that you respect. So I really loved Jasmine's Star when I first started photography, and she recommended buying 3 prime lenses, a 28, a 50, and a 85, all fixed. So I just did what she said, and I shot with those for like a year, and then I started adding more to my collection. And then I started noticing which lenses I shot with all the time and which ones I never shot with. And so it's just through actually seeing what you end up using and which lenses you take your best photos on, you end up creating your own custom collection. And I guess that's kind of my little lesson, is that you as an artist are going to have a relationship with each of your lenses, and you are going to enjoy shooting with one lens more than another, and that's completely based on you and your personality and your style and what you shoot. And so by no means is there a lens that's better than another lens, and there's no one like proper set of lenses for a portrait photographer to use. There are some traditional guidelines, like generally people who are shooting portraits will be using lenses that are in a range of like 35s to 85s or 100 millimeter lenses. That's generally the gist of it. And like traditionally portraits are shot with like 50s or 85s, but like those are all rules, right? So my big lesson of the day is start somewhere. Just buy whatever I tell you to buy if you're just getting started, which would be this one. This is my favorite. It's 35 millimeter, 1.4. And this is my favorite lens. This is my go-to lens. It's my all-around lens that I can take pictures of people's faces. I can take wide landscapes. I can get in really close. Like, it's very good for video. All around, if I can only have one, I would shoot with this one. After that, I love the 100 millimeter. So these are the 2, the 35 and the 100, that are usually in my bag. The 100 is beautiful for portraits. It makes the background really blurry, also known as bokeh. I know that people freak out if I don't use proper terminology sometimes, but again, this video is not about technique and technical stuff so much as the feeling of learning why you love a lens. So I love taking pictures with this lens because when I take a picture, I come home and the picture is blurry in the background. It's blurry back there, and the person's face is clear and like crisp, and they pop off the background. And it looks soft and smooth. It also zooms in really close. It doesn't zoom. None of my lenses zoom except this one. They're all fixed, which means they're just set at one length. So I have to zoom with my feet. So I can focus on something, and if I want to get closer, I have to walk closer. From the beginning, like I said, Jasmine Star told me to get 3 fixed lenses, and I loved that, and I keep with that because I think the quality of the image usually looks better. It also makes me get really in the mindset of, like, right now I'm working with the 35. Right now I'm working at 100 millimeters. It's like you're working at that depth. When you shoot with a zoom lens, this is a 70 to 200. That means I have choices from 70 all the way to 200. So you're sitting there and you're like, how far in do I want to zoom? Do I want it back here? Do I want it here? Like, this lens can give you so much variety, which as a beginner can be very overwhelming. It's like spoiled for choice, because you're looking at this lens and you're like, I don't know, like, should I zoom in? Should I zoom out? Should I use this lens or should I use this lens? I remember that. I remember being very like torn and uncertain about which lens I should use, and I would spend an entire wedding day going through lenses, just changing them, just to change them, to see what would happen. How different would it look if I changed the lens? And that's what happens when you go home and then you like edit the photos and you're like, oh, I definitely liked all the pictures that were taken on this lens and not really so much on this lens. And that happened so much that eventually I let go of some lenses and I sold them on eBay, because I was like, the pictures I take with this lens, I never loved them. So it's taking up space in my bag. Why bother? These two lenses, this is the 40 millimeter. It's a Canon 2.8 40 millimeter Pancake lens. I never shoot with it, ever. The only reason I have it is for travel. Like if I'm gonna travel on an airplane to Europe or something, and I'm gonna bring my camera, and I wanna have my professional camera, but I don't want to bring a giant lens like this. I just want something little. Like, and it's funny, right? Because most people, this is a giant camera. Like compared to most people's cameras, this is big. But to me, this is so small because I'm used to shooting on a big camera lens. So this is like a vacation option. The other thing that's nice about it is that this is my backup. This is my emergency. This lens is like $100 or something. It's pretty cheap compared to the lenses that cost thousands of dollars. So if one of these gets broken or has to go in for repair or to be cleaned, then I might just throw this one on. And this happens maybe once a year, once every other year, where I'm like, shit, none of my other lenses are working. Go use the backup lens. And it's so small. See how small this opening is compared to this opening? This lets in a lot more light. The more light that can come in, the higher quality the picture is gonna be. So this is pretty low quality picture. So as a professional photographer, people are paying me money to photograph them. I'm gonna be using the highest quality lenses for them. And I feel very weird and terrible if I show up at a paid shoot using this lens, because I don't say it to my clients because this is an emergency, remember? I'm like, they don't need to know that I'm in like panic mode with my backup emergency lens, but it will save the day. I got it. I was curious about how it functioned for video. They said that the 40 millimeter Pancake lens is great for video. I honestly haven't really noticed a drastic difference. And that might be because I'm so used to shooting with the 35, which is awesome for video. Now, the 7200, I also do not bring this with me very often, but that's not because it's low quality. It's not because it takes, it's not my emergency lens. This is my like special luxury, we have a special event going on, like a wedding. I'm gonna carry it. Like, look, it requires muscle to carry this lens. So it's very much like, I'm not gonna haul this around with me every day on my normal shoot. I'm only gonna bring it with me if I know I'm gonna have a station, a place I can put down my bag and like go to and get it, like at a wedding. Or if it's a studio shoot or something, and I'll bring this from my dad. My dad wants to play with it if he's like taking pictures of birds in the valley and get some zoom in wildlife. It's more of like a fun, bad boy luxury lens. Like, let's just play with it and get creative. This little one is like the emergency. Doesn't matter if it gets all messed up because it's cheap and it's just there. And then these are my bread and butter, my perfect lenses that I love. 35 millimeter 1.4, 100 millimeter 2.8. I have separate videos on YouTube where I talk about each of these lenses on their own. And I think sometimes when we start, we just get so excited to have all the gear, right? Like, it's just so fun to buy lenses. I still get that feeling today. I'm like, oh, I could go buy a new lens. Like, let's splurge and buy something new. But I've already shot with all of them. So I just think like, well, yeah, we can like rent one if we want to like spice it up for the weekend. But for the type of work I do on a regular basis, those other lenses just don't really give me the look I want. That said, it is really important that every now and then I would go shoot with a 50 or shoot with an 85, because one, it'll kind of push me out of my comfort zone, and I'll think differently as I approach the shoot from a different focal length. So it's like a creative challenge to stay engaged with the art, so you don't just get into a rut always using the same lens. So that's one benefit of trying something different. Another one would be, because we grow as artists, it's good to check in and just see, like, it's been a couple years, maybe I've changed. Maybe I would actually love to shoot with an 85. I didn't a couple years ago, but maybe now I do. So the lens collection that you have will constantly evolve. And just like anything in life, I think as we get older, we kind of get set in our ways. We figure out what we like. So I know I like this combo. And I would recommend this combo for anybody who's doing family and kids portraits, who needs one lens that's quick and can move around, and one that takes a beautiful still portrait or zooms in on little details. And then just have fun playing with other lenses and bringing them in and testing them out and trying them and seeing if you like them. And you know, maybe yours is a little different. Maybe you love shooting with the 50 and the 135. That's a lens, right? The 135. So you might have a different set, but they'll probably still be staggered. You know, one's for wider and one's closer. Maybe you like shooting with a 24 and an 85. But I think that's generally the concept, is to be able to go with an empty bag and only has two lenses in it, one close up, one far away, and this is sign language for shooting with two lenses. Cool. Let me know if you have any questions below. Subscribe, and let me know if you have any feedback or things that you want to know specifically. Cool. See ya.